I've saved people's jobs just by people understanding that their differences can be used as strength.
Yeah. We think we can just change this one little thing and think that that's an isolated change. It never is. It always, that little change will affect marketing. It's going to affect the sales guys. It's going to affect how we answer the phone. That thing, the way we answer, or that thing we're selling, that impacts all the way through.
Yeah.
And everything is connected.
Part of the role of a leader is to create hope. Create it.
I've got to create it. I can't go, well, this is going to be hard. Oh my God, it's so hard. It's going to be too hard. There's too many barriers. How do we do this? How do we do that? It's got to be hey, there's a promised land here. We've got to go. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's not sponsored by Almighty, but if you guys are watching, you do need to consider this.
Yeah, get amongst it.
Made in New Zealand. Yeah, so Josh, how about you start off, just to introduce yourself quickly to the audience?
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, I know that we're living in a time where leaders are probably a bit frustrated that their best ideas and strategies keep dying on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Right. And so really my work is in the area of how do we, in organizations, create the conditions where profound change can occur.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So I've been for the last 13 years working as a workplace consultant, doing culture stuff.
Yeah.
Quite known for doing work in the area of Clifton Strengths.
Strengths Finder.
Yeah. And this year I'm going to be saying hello to the world with a new business that I'm starting with two other guys.
Yeah.
And it's really helping organizations to grow role clarity.
Yeah. Right.
Because particularly, with organizations going from like a hierarchical structure to more of a flat structure, I think it's kind of causing a kind of bystander effect where like with the bystander effect, it's almost like it's everybody's job but nobody's job.
Right.
And so we're just looking at like new ways of actually growing that role clarity where roles become more dynamic rather than static job descriptions.
Okay.
So that's a bit about what I do.
A bit about you. Well, yeah, so you when I looked at you on LinkedIn, it says you're a workplace culture consultant.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're a strengths finder coach. And we were chatting the other day because I've probably done this summer or this Christmas, because I know a lot of our audience is in the States and so on, and it's winter there.
Yeah.
But I've spent this break not really stopping to think of, I've never stopped thinking about my strategy. So while I've been at home resting, I've also been reviewing and resetting and thinking the distance from work has allowed me just to give a fresh view on things, and so I've come back and I've literally have whiteboarded. I've got it all up there. I know what I need to achieve. I'm thinking about the roles that I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking about my team needing role clarity.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge there I'm finding is because the world is moving so fast.
Yeah.
And we're growing so fast. What I needed them to do a year ago, it's not quite right now.
Yeah.
They need to do some different things. And so I've now got the challenge of journeying with them on bringing some new role clarity.
Yep.
And making sure they're happy with it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and you were talking to me about employee motivation, making sure they're motivated. Mm-hmm. And you said something to me about how you are looking at that. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of work with leaders in the area of strategy.
Yeah.
And I think talking about motivation and why that is important is, I think what we've inherited from the Industrial Revolution is that there was now this idea of the machine, right? And what's really cool about machines is that they are inductive, that you can essentially like tack on something to a machine, you can fix them, you can drive them.
Yes.
And I think we've tried to turn our organizations into machines, but people aren't machines, you know.
No.
You can't really drive people, you know, even though some leaders would go, that would be nice if we could do that.
Lovely. Get some robots, man. We can do that soon.
Yeah, well, soon. It is coming quick.
Oh, dear.
But, you know, humans are not inductive. We are adaptive, right?
Yeah.
And so because we are living systems really are going to strengthen the things that they legitimize.
Yeah.
And so how do we create culture where people feel legitimized in who they are, but legitimize the right things?
Yeah.
You know, where we, you know, that saying, where your attention goes, energy flows. You know, I think that's really important. I think that we need to also create systems and processes for our organization for clarity, but also create systems and systems and processes that also make people feel trusted.
Yeah.
You know, and then also my other area is just sort of say, how do we also create anticipation in our organizations? Because Gallup, who are actually the creators of Clifton Strengths or StrengthsFinder, they talked about the 4 things that followers need from their leaders. So they did this mega study on 30,000 high-performing leaders around the world to essentially make another tool, you know, like Clifton Strengths for leadership. And they got through the study and realized that the data wasn't adding up, you know, that every leader was so different. But what they discovered in their study was that they could learn more about followers than they could about leaders and what do followers need. So they grew this area of fellowship, and they discovered that followers need 4 things. They need leaders that build trust, show them compassion, provide them with stability, and the last one was create hope. Yeah. And they're saying that hope had to be created by leaders. Yeah. And I think particularly in our Kiwi context, we're probably not very good at creating hope. That's when I talk to leaders about it, they often say that would be the one area they want to work on more. Yeah. And so I'd say that we want to have a culture where people are anticipating, right?
Yes.
However, circling back to the strategy thing, I've done a lot of work with things like methods like OKR, for example, with different types of agile models and things like that. And they work really, really well when you've got really an incredible kind of cultural architect at the top, you know, someone who is a super leader. Yeah. But often culture is actually built by management, you know, like managers are about 70% of engagement in organizations. So one thing that I've started to work on with organizations is with using the likes of OKR, partnering that with the idea of measuring the gains rather than the gaps. Yeah. And so that comes from a book, The Gain and the Gap, by a guy called Dan Sullivan.
Okay.
And really the idea of it, sorry, I'm talking quite a bit now, but really the idea of it is that it's the idea of saying that often in our organizations, you know, we've got our current state that we're in. Yeah. And we are looking towards this goal, this audacious, you know, future we want to build. Yeah. And that's really important that we crystallize that vision. But often what we're doing is we are actually measuring from where we are to where we want to be. Yeah. And in our organizations, often that's actually really hard to maintain motivation when you're measuring that gap. Yes. You know? And so the idea of measuring the gain is actually, instead of starting with measuring the gap, is to actually first start to bring in more of a reflective practice into your organization where you measure the gains that we've actually been making. So you look backwards and you go, what gains have we made in the last 3 weeks? Yeah. You know, and actually measure them. You know, what are the things we got done? You know, if we were to put a measure like 1 to 100%, how far have we got? You know, how much time have we saved? All these different metrics. And what I find is that you get better data when you start there to then go, what are the next gains we want to make? Yeah. And I find it's actually causing people to be willing to put the wheels on your big idea. Yes.
Well, the gains versus the gaps, but focusing your strategic planning and the review of that strategic plan, I guess, against the gains rather than the gaps. That was when you talked about that. and connecting it to that Strengths Finder research around hope.
Yeah.
Because that's what it does, right? Because
Absolutely.
when you're reviewing wins, when it's how did we win last week, as opposed to how did we F up, it's way more hopeful.
Yeah.
And then when you set goals and we're just measuring how we're moving towards those in a positive way, I can just see how that would build way more hope and really put legs to the idea of motivating employees.
Yeah.
Because as the manager, as the CEO, as the owner, whatever, you don't lack any motivation. You know what I mean? I'm highly motivated. I've got a real clear vision. And I'm going there, you know? And, and my staff are really loyal, so they follow along.
Yeah.
And most of the time, very happily. I think as we get bigger, that will get harder. As I get more people and I'm more distant from it and so on. So I guess the challenge is it'll come and go, but this idea of making sure they are hopeful and that they are being inspired by seeing the wins, the gains.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that idea, man. I think and I can see that's a strengths finder. That's a strengths-based mindset along with this culture thing that maybe you've got that allows you to sort of focus on that more than others might, maybe, or to see that as a thing.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think I heard this saying from a guy called Erwin McManus. Have you heard of Erwin McManus? He talked about how the opposite of trust is not untrust, that the opposite of trust is control, that we control that which we don't trust. And I think that another element to that measuring the gains or the gap is actually saying we trust that your opinion matters. You know, actually getting people to actually go, what are the gains you've been part of making? Another interesting measure is actually saying, you know, what are the near misses you helped us, you know, avoid?
Yeah.
And it's funny how, like, often when you think about it, the people that are actually getting the most attention in your organization are actually the people that may be those underperforming people.
Yeah.
And we can actually start to neglect the people that are actually the kind of the silent heroes in the team. And so when you're actually getting this data, it's really interesting when people start to actually realize, oh, we've actually been building something here.
Yes.
And they feel like, I've been part of that. I've contributed to that.
Yeah.
So when you see that it's actually more than just a methodology, it's a mindset, you know?
I want to tell you a story.
Yeah.
I think it could just be me, but I'm imagining there's other leaders out there like can relate to the story I'm about to tell you. So, you know, we're back into it. We'll have our first senior leadership team meeting next week.
Cool.
We haven't started that yet. A couple of staff not quite fully back into it yet. And so we're doing that next week. And I've got a sort of strategy laid out. I want to take them all through it. I'm going to spend a couple of weeks, as I say, talking about role clarity and so on. But anyway, come last week back into the factory. First thing I notice is that a new product that should have been out, we've just poured it, should have been out of the mold. We should have been looking at it, analysing it, still in the mold. Still, and I'm like, what the heck? How has that been missed? And then I walk into the building and the kitchen's a complete disaster. There's no more spoons. This is silly. This is going to sound silly.
Totally.
All the spoons are gone. All the forks are gone. There's a couple of knives. Who knows where the cutlery's gone? The guys have been back in the factory for a couple of weeks, including some of my senior leadership team. And they're probably all saying to themselves, I don't know where they're all gone, but they're all gone. Nobody's gone and bought new knives or spoons or forks. They just literally, I don't know how we're eating our lunches here, you know, they're all gone. Kitchen's a complete disaster. And I'm just, you know, so now on my whiteboard, I've got kitchen, knives and spoons. And I'm thinking, I never want to this should not be in a senior leadership team agenda, you know?
Yeah.
But to me, it reflects, I guess, what I do in my mind is go, if that's the state of our kitchen and the little things aren't being dealt with, what does that mean for the business? I connect it to all this other state of affairs, and I'm also connecting it to role clarity and thinking, whose job is it in the business to take care of this stuff?
Sure.
Someone's job.
Yeah.
So obviously, I can do it. I can clean the kitchen, and maybe I will. But I hope you get what I'm trying to communicate is I'm instantly going back to the gaps. I've got this beautiful strategy. I want to focus on the gains and talk about the gains that we're going to make this year and get them all of them engaged and excited. And yet the first thing I want to talk about is why the hell are nobody going to get spoons and knives? And how come the kitchen's a basket case?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's funny how I think when we've got behaviours going on in our organisation that aren't really matching the ethos of the kind of arena we're wanting to build here. And I think that there's a real difference when people experience a leader that sets expectation in a way where it's going, I see that you're this, but currently you're operating here. How can I help you get from here to here? Versus a leader that sort of says, you're useless, down here, and you need to come up to my level. There's something about when you actually make people go, you're actually not matching who I see you can be, and how that kind of really calls people to really step up, when people feel legitimized at the same time. But this is why also it's important to actually have articulated principles, values in our organisation. And one of the points I want to make about that is there's a real temptation in these types of scenarios to make things really dualistic, me versus you. Right? And what that always does is it creates this category of two, me versus you. And what you find is that conflict always takes place in categories of two. Right?
Yeah.
And we want conflict to go down in our organizations. And so what I'm often doing with creating languages like Clifton Strengths, helping organizations to create meaningful values that actually resound with people, is creating a third party that we speak through. So instead of saying me versus you and you're not good enough, it's sort of saying, hey, when you're operating in this way, you're not living out of
that value,
this value,
that thing,
but also I think people need to be a bit more fun with their values. I think there's a lot of values out there and that are kind of very, very basic that might actually not match the culture. I was working with a product-based team recently who one of the values we formed was don't claim the duck was what came out.
Right.
And we're going, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And as an organisation, they go at duck shooting. Right. And they often say all these ducks are flying over. Everyone's just shooting.
Nobody knows who shot it.
And nobody knows who shot it.
Yeah.
And it's this whole idea of saying, don't claim that you got all the ducks. It's this whole idea of saying, we're all contributing towards this. You can't claim that you are the reason why towards the success. So it's just kind of that's finding ways to connect with what makes sense to people in this culture.
Well, you're connecting a value to a story. To a story of that business, to the way they relax and connect. And so that's good. And I have tried to do that. I think I need to do that with quality. Because we're exporting to Australia, the States, Canada.
Awesome.
And so we're focusing very intently on our systems. And in fact, we're even looking at whether we implement the ISO 9000 type stuff,
cool.
To just have just nail the quality down and just have a guaranteed system so that stuff doesn't get missed. Then when we employ people, some of my best staff have come from really tough backgrounds where there's no patterns, there's no routines, there's been no stability at all. And I'm talking some pretty tough backgrounds, you know what I mean? And we're giving them a place where they feel safe and happy to be busy, so their hands are busy and they're keeping their minds occupied and out of trouble, And so I've got the challenge now of helping them work out how to follow something.
Yeah.
And follow it again, and why that's important. And so the kitchen's a problem for me because I see it. It's just an indication of family life, what it looks like at home, what it's looked like their entire lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and even for me, I wouldn't say I follow lots of patterns and routines typically. So it's a value we've all got to try to find and lean into. So it'll be one we're going to have to find a story to anchor ourselves in, I think, to give it a nice name, and then find some gains.
Yeah.
Having the kitchen clean will be a real simple gain, but there'll be all sorts of quality type things that we can measure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost thinking in that, in the different levels of thinking, like in terms of someone once described it to me like going up to whether I take the stairs or the elevator, you can kind of just think, okay, this will be nice for me right now. I can just take the elevator.
Yeah.
But you start to realize, well, if I live in this high-rise building and I take the elevator every day, well, one, if I took the stairs, I'm going to get some health benefits from that. That's going to be really good. But also taking the elevator, what's that going to do to my mindset in the future? Where all of a sudden it's going, I'm just going to take the elevator on everything.
Yeah.
And actually starting to think about
I think that
principle.
I can relate to that because I always take the stairs at the airports and stuff. I'm a bit of an exercise freak, so I will deliberately take those stairs. No matter what I'm carrying, I'm going up those stairs, because I'm going to be on a flight for 10 hours. There's no way I'm being lazy, before that. But it'll be interesting to see if my staff can relate to that idea. But it's good because it indicates hard work and a bunch of steps that we have to take. We can't take the elevator past this because we pay the price later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I need to find something. And I think as a senior leadership team, we'll go looking for that.
Yeah.
That story, what is it,
Yeah.
And that's nice. I like that.
Yeah. I once heard a leader, one of their principles in their organisation was what you walk past is the quality you accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's realising that,
once you walk past it once, it's all over.
Yeah, you start to realize, you've got to actually come back and lift those standards. But I think that there's an element to leadership which can just be the fact that you can actually do it in a way where you're nudging them, you're kind of saying that this is how I see you are.
Yeah.
You're becoming that. But also allowing people the freedom to, because what I'm hearing you say is almost like you're creating a learning organisation here,
100%.
And so...
yes.
And so, the thing is that what research has really shown now from like neuropsychology is that learning doesn't actually come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out. So what that means is that because we've got these, to talk really technical, these dendritic trees in our brain, right, where we process, we build upon existing branches within the trees in our brain, And so often when we're trying to teach someone something, we're trying to like rip the trees out of our brain and just plant them in someone else's brain. And they're like, why don't they get it? But when it comes, for example, to Clifton strengths, we know that the likelihood of finding someone else with your same top 5 strengths in the same order is to find the one in 33.39 million people, right? So people are actually all going to go about things very unique. And actually that's where their best flow lies.
Yes.
And so with how to do that, I believe it's actually where managers ask great questions of people. And instead of jumping in and being this advice monster that just jumps in with advice all the time, actually allowing people to use their trees in their brain to also play a part in how they are actually going to work this out too. Because we're all seeing it very differently,
Yeah.
So even asking people, what are your priorities today? And then listening.
Yeah.
how powerful that is when people go, I'm doing this, 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 and this. They probably haven't thought about that until you ask that question.
Yeah.
But if they actually named that for themselves, they're not going to be in so much of a dependent stance where you feel like you're running an adult daycare.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I would probably positively assume you don't really want to run an adult daycare at Flair.
No, absolutely not. I'm trying to get better at not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that temptation is in my first senior leadership team to talk about the kitchen, and the spoons. And I just know I'm talking about it because I know I'm not going to, but I need to be talking about role clarity and stuff, but tying it back to some principles of what we're trying to achieve as a business in a way that's more positive. But man, it's sometimes it's just so easy to default to, to pointing out stupid stuff just to annoy everybody.
Totally. And I actually think there's still a place for it.
Yeah.
I do. And, just sometimes as leaders, we've got to be chief reminding officers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just remind people of things that we know.
Yeah.
But we can say it in a way where it's like, this as well.
Yeah.
And it's really easy for us to start to see that quality slip out.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's quality. So that's and there's a whole bunch of other stuff we've got to achieve that all the businesses that are listening to us, they're thinking they've got to achieve in the next year. And it's amazing, like when you think of AI, and you think of how quickly things are shifting, and how the goals. It's almost like, I think I've mentioned this on a previous podcast with James Graffis maybe, but like we used to be able to set 10-year goals once upon a time, 20, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
What are we going to do in the next 5 years? And you lay it out. And the world didn't change pretty much in 5 years. Computers got faster and faster, but basically think now, who knows what the world looks like in 5 years? Like literally what? We have no idea. And I was thinking about that with AI and robots. I think if I wanted to, I could replace the whole team with robots within 5 years. I'm not saying in fact, I don't think I will. I think I'll always want humans making these fires because they are for humanity. But I think that would be well within reason that I could. So do I have putting robots, as a strategy? It's not going to be, but it could be.
Yeah, and I think that one of the greatest things that is at risk with all of these changes is the greatest thing we've ever invented as humans, which is the idea of working in a team.
Yeah. Man, imagine we take that away.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's not going to look good.
And so this is why it's like it is vital for leaders to be creating learning organizations. An organization where people can actually grow role intelligence because, just like you're sort of saying, we were able to set 10-year goals. And there was an element where, in terms of, your role is obviously made up of both the elements of stasis to your job, which is the part that are just like our best practices that just are how it works. And then there's change in our job too. And I think that the percentage of stasis versus change, well, stasis had much more of a greater percentage, but now it's almost like feels like it's become 50-50.
Yeah.
People need to actually be able to adapt and change, to be able to respond to this current moment. And that requires a certain type of how we shape the arena that we work in.
So when you say a learning culture, I don't fully know what you mean by that.
Well, let's talk about what are the 5 disciplines then of a learning organization.
Okay. Yeah.
The 5 disciplines are that you want to grow the discipline of 1, personal mastery.
So personal mastery, when you say that, I'm thinking as individuals, learning to master ourselves.
Yeah, so learning, so being able to, a person with high levels of personal mastery are able to work with the forces of change. They're able to contribute their strengths and do it in a way where it's actually going to be a win for yourself, a win-win for the people I work with, and a win-win-win where I win, you, the whole living system are in wins because you're part of it. You know, where people actually have a strong understanding of this is my paddle and I have a positive disposition towards what I bring. You want to have that element where people become a serious owner of what they bring rather than a casual renter of what they bring.
So are you talking about what that looks like at work purely? Like when I think about personal mastery, I'm thinking of just the need for people to forgive themselves.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from that, actually turn up okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what do you think about that?
There's definitely the element of, self-actualizing as a person and growing in character.
Yeah.
These parts all actually definitely play a part
Yeah.
in whether you can actually hold the paddle that you've been entrusted with well. So there's the element of to actually truly achieve, which is the third discipline I'll talk about, which is shared vision.
Yeah.
Shared vision starts with a personal vision. You need people to actually go, this is what I bring. You need to start there, because sometimes if we start with this is what we think, you can start to fall into the trap of groupthink. And you don't have people that are showing up going, this is actually the unique thing that I bring to your team. We start to become a bit uniform. We don't become a learning organisation. We become
okay. Well, I want to talk about personal vision, but you skipped step 2.
Yeah.
Or number 2.
Yeah.
So number 1 is personal mastery.
Personal mastery.
So you want people to be mastering themselves and how they turn up at work.
Yeah.
In a way that's energetic and positive and so on, right? Okay.
Yep.
Number 2 is
the discipline of team learning.
Okay, team learning. I have no idea what you mean by that.
Team learning is really actually learning partly what do other people do in this organisation, what's their part and how do I work with that. Understanding how we're similar, how we're different, and how do we work complementary together.
Okay, yeah.
I've had so many moments as a strengths coach where I've saved people's jobs just by people understanding that their differences can be used as strength.
Yeah.
So part of it is actually like growing an element where we actually learn the people we work with.
Yeah.
They learn me, I let them learn how I work, and I learn how they work.
Yeah.
That's through things like better dialogue, through understanding their personality, their strengths.
As a team, actually understanding the other person as well as understanding yourself.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So that would be the second discipline.
Okay. So number 1, personal mastery. Number 2, team learning.
Yes.
So learning, you mean by that learning about the team and how they function as individuals.
Yeah,
and then
and
together
how
as a team.
And what would that look like together? Mixing these colours together.
Yep. Number 3 is shared vision as well as a personal vision.
So shared vision is the third discipline.
Right. Okay.
Shared vision being shared vision does not happen on a whiteboard. And it doesn't happen on paper or on a poster on the wall. It happens in the hearts and minds of people.
Right.
And so actually being able to define a picture or an answer to the question, what are we trying to build? Mm-hmm. And being able to, with whatever that picture is, with our team, to actually achieve commitment rather than compliance.
Mm. Yeah.
Right? To me, that is shared vision, where people are willing, I've already said this, but willing to put the wheels on your big ideas.
Yeah.
That to me is shared vision.
Yeah.
People could say it's the discipline of buy-in.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
How do you do that? Well, I think, as I was saying, it starts with actually people actually starting with, this is my perspective. And then with that perspective, contributing that to a collective conversation. And then sometimes what you find is that people will have ideas, for example, that don't end up being the idea we use, but the fact that they contributed something, they feel like they've got skin in the game.
So it's just been heard, having the ability to speak into it and modify the vision if needed, but not necessarily. It's really just having everyone's input and feeling like there was valued input. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's valued is a really key
part of it.
It is because coming back to that whole idea of living systems.
Yeah.
Okay. They say that that living systems strengthen that which they legitimize.
Yeah.
And what they say is that the way you grow a living system is with love. And the way they define love is that love is to treat and see an other as a legitimate other. Okay, so I know there's a bit of a tongue, a bit of a word, but it's sort of saying if people feel legitimized, if they feel valued, they are going to actually, if their opinion matters, all of a sudden, them buying into something that becomes the we. What are we trying to build? They're much more likely to buy in.
I've got a cup here I think I got given it as a Christmas present a couple of years ago, like a $2 Secret Santa. And it says, when I hold it, the message faces out and it says, your ideas are interesting, just not to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like the opposite of what you're saying. But I do love my staff, but I sometimes like just to be cheeky,
Yeah.
But that's what you're saying. The staff need to feel that they are being seen and that they are valued. They've actually got to be valued. You've actually got to value them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And that is tricky when you're busy. I'm finding as the flare gets bigger, I used to be able to catch up with all of the staff quite often, and now I'm having to less often. The senior leadership team are seeing me all the time and they have access to me all the time, but the others are having to book it. I'm having to book them in and make time. Which is the last thing I want to do sometimes when I'm in a real busy week, Not because I don't value them, but because I'm on a plane or I'm too busy.
Yeah. And often it comes down to things like meeting architecture. How do we do our meetings?
Yeah.
There's different types of meetings. There's one-on-one meetings.
Yes.
There's weekly meetings. There's beer and pizza meetings.
Yeah.
Where we're just putting one idea on the table. We've got off-sites where people might have a 1 to 3 day kind of meeting.
Oh, nice.
But the thing is that, with one-on-ones, for example, if you've got a manager that says, tell me about last week, what were your highs, what were your lows, or what were your peaks, what were your pits, and then go, what are your priorities this week? And then how can I help? All of a sudden you go, this is the best manager I've ever had. If you have, for example, staff meetings where you actually carve out and make part of your discipline to actually take 10, 15 minutes to just reflect on the gains we've made at the beginning.
Yeah.
And just go, we're going to actually measure what progress we've been making and get really clear on that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got people that are starting to really get behind, like, what's our next step?
Yeah.
Good. And the thing is this, what's offensive about that is it's so simple.
So simple.
And it's things that leaders who are listening to this will go, I've actually done that. And you go, great, let's just do it, on the frequent.
More often.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I've done, I've been interested in your views on this, is I've made a few changes that I'm bringing into this year. I started at the end of last year. And the changes were born out of me being so busy and there was a sense of sort of chaos where staff were coming in with me with problems all the time, and the moment I saw stuff like the spoons or whatever, or more important issues, I would instantly go and talk to them.
Yep.
And so there was this just huge noise and busyness. So then I'm like, no, we're going to look at those issues once a week. And I have a day, and we call it, I need to come up with a better name for it, but I'm saying to them, you keep your list of things you want to talk to me about, and I'll have my list. And so I have a day of the week where I'm meeting with each of my senior leadership team.
Yep.
And it's our list day. Let's look at your list. Let's look at mine.
Yep.
And then, so that's taken all the noise out. So it's only once a week, and they're not feeling hassled by me, and I'm not feeling hassled by them. And then on another day, I'm having this more of a leadership conversation, which is a one-on-one, which is exactly the same, highs and lows. And I'm going to add that gains thing,
Yeah. Awesome.
To it. And they love that meter because there's no, why haven't you got that done, or this needs to be done. It's just how's it look for you? How's it feel for you today? And I'm loving doing that. So that's how it's worked for me, but it'll be interesting for those that are listening to see, they'll have their own ways that they'll need to make it work in their.
I think the biggest point that we're making here is that we throw around words like engagement.
Yeah.
Right? How do we have high engagement? Well, what they've found with research is that organisations where managers primarily focus on the weaknesses of their employees, 2 out of 10 are what we call actively disengaged. So they are people that those 2 people are unhappy, and their mission is to get other people to join them in their unhappiness. Okay, that's how they'd say actively disengaged. Managers that primarily focus on the strengths of their employees, only 1 in 100 are actively disengaged, is what their research shows.
Right.
However, the point of what I want to make is this. Managers that primarily ignore their employees, 4 out of 10 are actively disengaged. So it is better to give negative feedback than it is to ignore people. And so, like, people need attention, you know? So you taking time as a leader to notice excellence and go, hey, that thing you just did was awesome. Keep repeating that.
Yeah.
That matters. That really matters. And people can go, oh yeah, it's just, you know, that's that kind of very kind of fluffy, soft stuff, right? But I've seen where people have neglected this stuff cost enormous amounts of money when you have 12 of your staff leaving because they're not happy.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah.
Okay. So I love that. So just to circle back around, leaders having their one-on-one with a key team, you mentioned, like if you were to say, okay, here's 3 questions you should ask, 3 great questions in that one-on-one. You're going to allow an hour and a half for that one-on-one, whatever it is. What are those 3 questions?
I would say those questions are, I'll say it's 4.
Okay, 4 questions, great.
So it's the first 2 questions are, I'd say choose your language to what feels natural to you. But it's either tell me in reflection of last week, what was good and what was bad, or what did you love, what did you loathe?
Yeah.
What were your highs, what were your lows, what were your peaks, what were your pits? There's many ways you can ask that.
Got it.
But getting them to actually reflect on last week and what was good and what was, you know, what was the challenge.
Great.
Now, you could also add in there, what were the gains, right?
Would that be a separate question?
I would say, like, that could be the question. The point of these questions is to reflect.
Got it, yes.
Right? So starting with reflection.
Yep. Highs and lows.
The next question would be, and I've said this, is, so tell me, what are your priorities this week?
What are your priorities this week?
And just listen.
And just listen. And so at that point, when they mention their priorities and you're thinking, none of those are on our strategy for this year.
Yeah.
Are you still just listening at that point?
Well, this is a moment where I would say let them make their list.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, actually, that thing you said there, and this is a great moment for a leader to get that insight.
Yeah.
Because if that's going to be their priority this week and you find out they've been focusing on the wrong thing,
good.
You know. So I would say that would be the next question. And then the question after that, to me, which is really powerful, is how can I help?
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that leaders are nervous about asking this question because they go, what if they make me do all their things? But what I've found when managers ask this question is often the thing that they are asked to do is something that is keeping this employee awake at night. Yet for them as a leader, they go, that is so easy. Yeah. So like whether that be someone in a kiwi fruit orchard just saying, hey, can you make sure that that your gang of people aren't where I'm going to be spraying tomorrow? And they could be stressing about that, but for the manager, they go, I'll just make the call right now. It's easy.
I'll take care of it.
Not a problem.
Done, yeah.
And so that's where it's like, it's often something easy, or they are just going to say, I'm actually all good.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say that doesn't mean, they don't like that question.
Yeah.
It's actually for them to know when they do need help, that they have a leader that will help.
Yeah.
Is really, really powerful. But another question you can add in the mix at times is when you're having those follow-up conversations, is just say, hey, last week you were saying that this was going to be a priority for you. Where are you at with that? Are you like green light, orange light, red light, And then whatever, if they say, I'm an orange light with that, you can then follow up with the same question again. How can I help?
Got it. And that keeps them focused back to your strategy. So you've had a great one-on-one where they're feeling fully heard and supported.
Yep.
And you're helping to keep them focused. So the questions were the highs and lows, however you word it.
Yep.
What are your priorities? Number 2. Number 3, was how can I help?
Yes.
And then the number 4 sort of loop around, which I really like, was the however you word it is, how, last week you said this was your priority. How are you going with those?
Yeah.
With that,
and maybe do a traffic light with that.
And then going back to, well, how can I help?
Absolutely.
Brilliant. I love it, man. I'm going to get out of this podcast and write those down. I love it.
Yeah, cool.
I love these little sort of frameworks that, have been developed, because that's the type of meeting I want to run with my staff, and I know they'll really value that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you model that, hopefully they, they also do that well with their subordinates as well. Yeah.
I should probably say what the other 2 disciplines of a learning organisation are.
You should. We got to 3.
We got to 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we'll be able to go in depth, but
okay.
I think people will feel
What was that discipline
shortchanged.
we just talked about?
That was shared vision.
Shared vision. And how did we connect that, just quickly before we move on, how did we connect that to the one-on-one just then? What loop did we do to connect that?
It's actually realising that to achieve shared vision, it starts with personal vision. And when people are given attention,
got it. Nice.
They're going to actually start to go, yeah, I will contribute my paddle to the waka that I'm on, to the canoe I'm on.
So rather than saying with shared vision that you expect them to turn up with a vision statement that they've written down and 5-year plan for their lives, it's really more just, are they being seen and heard and understood by their leader, and there's a sense of focus on their and you're caring about their priorities and helping them stay focused on that.
Yeah, and also as part of that is also actually answering the question as a collective to understand the answer of the question, what are we trying to build?
Yeah.
And when people understand not only what their role is, but the outcome.
Yes.
That is also really important. Because there's people out there that I once walked into 2 guys in banking. I was working with one of the banks in New Zealand, and I was watching these guys having this big argument in a room. And I'd done individual coaching with both of them, and I acted like I wasn't aware that there was conflict in the room.
Yeah, right.
And I went to them, I was like, oh, what are you guys talking about? And they were saying, they were arguing essentially over spreadsheets. And I said, okay, well, why are you actually collecting this data? And they looked at each other and they went, to be honest, we don't know. And I said, well, could it be, because I've been to some of their meetings, could it be that you're collecting it for this outcome? And they went, that's why we're doing it. And they went, fantastic. And I all of a sudden saw them, they've got the same page they're on now. They're operating from a third way rather than me versus you.
That is so funny, because I see that kind of stuff even in a Flair-sized business, which is not the size of a bank by any means.
Yeah.
So you can imagine as you get bigger.
Yeah.
We've been doing the spreadsheet for 20 years.
Yeah.
Nobody knows why the heck we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny. Okay. So from what's point 4?
Point 4, this one here needs a little bit of describing.
Okay.
But this one here is the discipline of mental models. Okay.
Discipline of mental models. Okay. Yep.
So really it's growing an awareness in your organization that you don't see the world as it is. You see the world out of who you are. And so it's understanding that you've got a perspective and everyone's got a different perspective. And so we need to actually think about the fact that we are creating models of how it's supposed to be. But those things that become our best practices actually can be the very thing that causes us to eventually fall into chaos. The things that we are holding very tightly to will eventually fail us. And so it's realizing that we need to not be concrete in our mind. We need to be open to change. But part of it is actually being aware that we are often taking actions based on the beliefs we have. And so we need to think about, what are the underlying beliefs we have in this team? Are they helping us or are they hindering us? And so part of what I do with organizations is get people to find ways to understand their perspectives, understand their shared beliefs, to challenge them, to go, actually, is this the best mindset for us to have to get to the goals we want to get to?
Okay. Put legs on that with a story. a generic story that you can tell to explain what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. So, for example, there is this model. I love models, as you can tell.
Yeah.
There is this model called the ladder of inference. Okay.
Right.
And this comes from Harvard University, and it is a model that helps us understand how do we make decisions, how do we take action, essentially. And so there are these stages that we go through to take action, okay? So, for example, if I was taking a team session, right, where I'm looking around the room and some people are drinking from a can of Almighty, the unofficial sponsor.
That's right.
Some people have got their arms folded.
Yeah.
Some people are nodding, looking at me. Other people aren't looking interested yet. But I look across and there's a person called Dale, and Dale is looking at his phone. Okay? So the first stage of this model is that we are sitting in a pool of data. We are surrounded by things that you could capture on a video camera or a listening device. And the thing is there is too much for us to process. Okay? And so what our mind does is it selects data that is standing out to us. So if I, first of all, select that Dale is looking at his phone, I'm now going to go, so the next stage, so it was in the pool of data, there was all these things going on, and the first stage was I selected that Dale was looking at his phone.
Yeah.
The next stage I do is I put meaning to what does that mean, okay?
Yeah.
And the meaning is, Dale's looking at his phone and he's not listening to me, okay? Which then causes me to go to the next stage, which is I start to form assumptions as to why, okay? So I go, maybe Dale wasn't taught to listen as a kid. Maybe Dale doesn't like people like me. He's like, oh, another one of these kind of HR kind of guys, right? Maybe Dale's got a problem with people in the room. Maybe Dale doesn't like the organization. I'm going through all of these options, right? Yeah. So out of these assumptions, I then go to the next stage, which is I form a conclusion, okay? And that Dale doesn't like me, is what I've decided. He doesn't want to be here, and he's probably thinking about getting another job, okay? Which then forms a belief that I have.
Yeah.
And that belief is that Dale's a bit of an asshole, okay? I don't know if I want to talk to Dale in the session.
Yeah.
And so from that belief, I take action. And so, I avoid talking to Dale. After the session, the manager says to me, what do you think of the team? And I go, they're a great team, but you've got a problem. And that problem is Dale. Don't give Dale any learning opportunities, okay? Be careful with giving him leadership, right? Now, the thing is this, is that what that is really based on is the fact that the evidence I have is that Dale was looking at his phone, okay? But just like the saying goes, we jump to conclusions, right? And so there's this thing in it where whatever we believe, we want to reinforce, okay? So there's this reflexive loop that causes us to more and more and more select the things we already believe, that kind of confirmation bias, where if Dale, for example, exhales out his nostrils and goes, I'm going to go, see? He doesn't want to be here. Yeah. However, if I asked him the question, Dale, you're looking at your phone. What's going on? Dale might actually go, hey, I'm really sorry, but my wife is heavily pregnant right now and she's texting me saying that she's having niggles and I might need to leave. All of a sudden, the ladder that I just was climbing up has been completely interrupted and now I'm going, promote the guy, this could be Father of the Year, let's all champion Dale. So realising that we're all seeing things differently, we need to realise that we need to be able to have good dialogue to get on the same page.
So that was number 4.
Yes.
And it was that it's called mental models, no?
Mental models.
Mental models. And you're just saying that you're applying that to we always do things this way here, or this is the way we do things, and it's because people have a perception of how things should be done, or perceptions of other people in the team. Is it?
It's realizing that in our organizations, to bring change, we've got to actually often bring mindset change with that.
Okay, I see. So it's not about a business, it's not about models, it's more about It's not about like how the way you do your business necessarily. You're talking about the construction of what the world looks like inside of our heads.
Kind of, but that will influence the way we do our business too.
Okay.
That will.
I understand. I often say to people something similar to what you just said, which is we don't see the world how it is, we see how we feel it is.
Beautiful.
And my example of this, I won't talk about who it is, but it's someone I know who's very negative, and they're trying to sell their house at the moment, and their worldview is that market's terrible, blah, 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 nobody's buying houses. Blah, blah. The reality is actually interest rates are low. The market is actually starting to turn. The market has been a bit tough. But in this person's mind, there's this construction of this what is real.
Yeah.
In her mind, her truth is real.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's based on her feelings.
Yeah.
Of she's obviously fearful and nervous and all that stuff. And we can choose how we feel.
Yeah. And realizing that if you're, for example, a salesperson who believes it's hopeless.
Exactly.
That is going to affect whether you actually go and pick up the phone today.
Yeah. And part of the challenge as a leader is to help them make that mind shift. Do you have any quick tips on that come to mind?
Quick tips?
Because it's probably the impossible question, because that's actually, I know that when I've tried to draw people out of that negative mindset and go, well, then you're not viewing the world how it actually is.
Yeah.
I'm actually, there's a story in the Bible which talks about, I don't remember if you know your Bible better than I do, you might, it's when the Israelites are going into trying to explore the promised land, and he sends out the 12 scouts, Moses, I think, or not, was it Joshua sends out the 12 scouts maybe, and a bunch of them come back and go, it's hopeless, the giants in the land.
Yeah.
It's just, we're all going to get slaughtered. This is terrible. Yep. And the other group comes back and goes, man, it's a land of milk and honey.
Yeah.
They're half asleep. We're going to take this piece of cake.
Yeah.
And same reality.
Yeah.
It was based on the way that's their perceptions.
Absolutely.
But I find it so hard to shift people from that mindset to that mindset. I don't know how to do that well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it does start with realizing that, that actually, someone can have a different perspective to me on this and get a much better result.
Right.
Yeah. So if people just sort of think, have this attitude where it's just like, well, like one of the biggest lies I think we believe is that we've got these video camera eyes, Video cameras don't perceive the world, in the way a human does. The human is, like I was saying, going through those stages.
Yeah.
We're making meaning of our reality. And so it's realizing that as meaning-making systems,
we're telling a story all the time.
That story, we actually have to challenge that story because is that story helping us or is it hindering us?
Yes. Yeah. I love, we had Steve out here before. He was just giving you a tour when you turned up. And I think it's one of the great things about Steve is almost every time I see him, he's like, it's going to be a great year this year. This market is just pumping. It's going to be amazing. And I believe it, but I love that optimism, I love that the narrative that he's obviously telling himself.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any truth to it.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting stat actually. That in baseball, they've actually discovered that if they actually look at two teams who have got really, really similar batting averages and all of the different things that they take in as metrics, the movie Moneyball, what they've found is that the most accurate stat they can go with when they look at these two teams is to anticipate which team is going to win. At the series is when they measure teams in optimism. Yeah. And the team that is optimistic is always the one that comes out on top.
That's right. So we literally can create, it's almost like there's this thing in the universe that actually responds to the way we approach the world. Yeah. That starting to sound kooky maybe, but these are thoughts that have run through my head often is that and I think even, when they look at atoms and I don't know whether it's atoms or electrons or whatever, and there's that superposition, and they're not in a position until they're looked at. And that's my concern for this negative person with the house, is it's like she's she's probably not going to sell a house because she's just so negative. It's almost like she's creating this negative future for herself.
Yeah.
Whereas if I look at our export market with a much more, what this business needs is for me to turn up and go, man, we're just sitting on opportunity.
And that, again, comes back to part of the role of a leader is to create hope. Create it.
I've got to create it. I can't go, well, this is going to be hard. Oh, my God, it's so hard. It's going to be too hard. There's too many barriers. How do we do this? How do we do that? It's got to be hey, there's a promised land here, and we've got to go.
And that's not to say that we don't acknowledge
all the hard.
That it's hard.
Yeah.
But it can actually be, if we're in a broken place, it's acknowledging this is really hard, but we're going to get through it.
Yes.
Or it could be saying, we're in a good place, but I said we're going to be in a great place. Leaders, control the weather wherever they go. And so,
I love that,
and so we have to be the ones to sort of show up and really start positive rumours. I'm often saying this to leaders. I mean, like, humans often organise themselves with rumours. Yeah. Right. And so, I remember once I was dating a girl when I was 14, and I said to a friend, then I was, I don't know if I might break up with this girl. And I said it to them in class. By the time I got to lunchtime, the whole year knew
that
I was breaking up with this girl before I got to talk to her. Yeah. And this girl's distraught, found out about it. Rumours travel fast. And I think that leaders need to be intentional about starting positive rumours.
Yes.
Being people that, like, all the things that you're saying about, like, actually growing that anticipation in people. Leaders can do that more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it doesn't exclude the stairs versus the elevator. I think it actually, I don't think you get there on the elevator. You get there on the stairs.
Yeah.
It's hard slog, and you've got to follow the steps, and sometimes you come back down the steps because you've missed a step, and But I think that's the fun of it, is the hardness in it almost. There's a reward. It actually feels hugely rewarding when you do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This actually goes well into the fifth discipline.
Okay, tell me about the fifth then.
So the fifth discipline is the discipline of systems thinking.
Okay. Yes.
Now, you were just doing that by saying you realise that connects to that connects to that.
Yes.
And you start to realise that part of a leader's job is to actually be a person that not only is a really good leader agent, I will be the worst person that brings change, to actually be a person that actually shapes the arena that people work in. That arena is made up of, like, leaders, places where things happen, processes, brand.
Yeah.
It's made up of creating a learning organisation. It's made up of creating strategy that's not only measurable, but also speaks to our ethos and also creates a feeling of something sublime within your organisation.
Yeah.
How do we, for example, become people that shape conditions where agents come into it and find agency, where they actually start to become willing to put the wheels on these big ideas? To me, that's realising that everything is very interdependent, very interconnected.
Yeah.
And so it's starting to realise that that as leaders, we have to, from a systems thinking point of view, step back and then step back and step back and see how everything keeps affecting everything.
Yeah.
There's always a ripple effect with any change we make.
Yeah.
It's going to affect this and this and this.
I learnt that last year, and I've said it to a few of my team. We think we can just change this one little thing. It might be something in your marketing or something in the factory.
Yeah.
And think that that's an isolated change. It never is. It always, that little change will affect marketing. It's going to affect the sales guys. It's going to affect how we answer the phone. That thing, the way we answer, or that thing we're selling, that impacts all the way through.
Yeah.
And everything is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I say, what I would say is the opposite of that.
Right.
Is, like, for example, I live in Mount Maunganui.
Yes.
I live on the other side of the train tracks towards Matapihi.
Right.
And we had this flyover bridge being built by the shopping mall.
Yep.
And it took way
how many
longer.
years?
It just
5
took,
years. It was so long.
It was a long thing.
Yeah.
Now, me going home at night, I could be saying to my wife, the traffic was so annoying, getting all bitter about it. But I've also got to realize that I am actually part of the traffic too.
Yeah.
That someone else is going home telling their wife
Yeah.
that the traffic sucked today because I was in the traffic too. You know, realizing that our behaviors, the things that we do, actually affect that big picture. And so if we have teams that, for example, are aware that what we do, just like leaving the dishes, actually affects the big picture of this organization. You know, it's this whole idea of like throwing a stone into a pond, the ripples affect the whole pond.
Yeah.
And yet it's something so small, you know? It's realizing that we are living in an interdependent system, you know?
So it's about, what was 0.5 systems, is that what you say?
It's systems thinking. It's realizing that all of this has to marry together.
Yeah.
And really this is why it's a very, very important discipline. And it's one where it's actually about growing wisdom in your organization, you know?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of this systems thinking, I think.
Yeah.
I think. It's interesting, Torrey and Sue Hilton, who designed our products, the founders of Flair, I love it. This product of ours, I'm looking at, that's why I'm going like this and looking past the camera, is a system. Yep. Each component is bolts together, connects in a system. It's this beautiful system which happens to look incredible and last a lifetime and creates a product. And Torrey's all about systems. He loves systems. If you go into his parts of the factory, every tool has its place. All the tools have a colour on them, and it's all, you know, he's all about the systems. As a business, we sort of devolved from that as he shifted away from the business and staff changes and that kind of stuff. And but as we are growing, we're recognising that, shoot, we've got to lock down the systems. I want the systems to evolve. I want them to actually evolve and improve over time, but so I'm learning, we're trying to work out actually what tools to use, what staff are needed to help us become system thinkers. So we're just on that journey now. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, just coming at it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
I would say the tool that I'd encourage you not to use.
Yes.
Is I'd encourage you not to use surveillance cameras.
I hadn't thought of surveillance cameras.
But I'd say to not do it.
Don't do that. I wasn't going to. But how do people use that in terms of systems? Well,
it's funny how, like, when we start to think about efficiency, productivity.
So you can actually measure like time and motion, that kind of stuff.
I would just say what we start to want to do is
it's a trust thing, isn't it?
It's a trust thing.
Yeah.
And so the thing is this, is if people start to feel like they're being watched, all of a sudden you will get the worst version of people. To me, it is not worth spending the money on the cameras.
I won't do that. I had thought about it at one point because I do stop motion, time and motion stuff. You do see wastage.
Yep.
But it fundamentally is a message that says we don't trust you.
Yeah, and I'd say that costs more money than that little gain you just made, because it's what it costs you in that systems thinking approach is actually people, again, not feeling trusted. We want people to feel like, you know what, we think that you are more than capable of actually being an epic contributor to the system. Yeah, you know.
So Flair we're actually very good at our systems.
Yep.
I would say. So our mission, our vision, actually our current vision, which I think we've almost, our vision is to be from local company to international Kiwi brand.
Awesome.
And we now have, outside of the All Blacks, one of the biggest social media followings in New Zealand as a company.
Wow.
We've got sort of 250,000 followers on Instagram and so on.
Wow.
Some of our videos are getting 40, 30, 40, 50 million views, so and our markets are expanding, that kind of stuff. I now want to, my next I'm thinking, we're not thinking big enough, I'd love to become New Zealand's most loved brand, that would be sort of my hope. But, and because of this, we need to be absolutely cutting edge, world class in our systems.
Yep.
I've realised that.
Yep.
You can't just expect us to repeat our success into the future. We've got to learn how to repeat the things that we're amazing at, and to not do the things we're not good at. We shouldn't do, you know.
Yeah.
So, I bet you there's a bunch of companies out there in New Zealand that are thinking the same thing. What would you recommend? If it's not cameras, is there one thing that you could recommend I do as a leader to help the organisation do that well? That's a big question. You might not have an instant answer to, but
I've got something in my head that I'm like, it's more like a full workshop that I usually take, so I won't do that.
Okay.
But I want to circle back to a point I've already made. Even though that sounds like a cheap thing, I want to come back and say, I encourage you as a leader to, with your team, make them feel like they're in on the biggest, best kept secret
that's good.
that this world's ever known.
Yeah.
Start positive rumors, make them feel like you're in on something here, and I just want to let you know that what's coming is really exciting.
Yeah.
Make people feel they're part of it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of saying you can't trust people with that, and that's what I was saying with the putting cameras up.
Yeah.
Start to ask yourself, what can we trust people with?
Yeah.
Push the boundaries of that.
Yeah.
Like, what visibility can we give people, even people that are just on the workshop floor, someone who cleans, you know, how can we make them feel more part of this vision?
Yeah.
You know, where they see that their part is building towards something sublime.
Yeah.
And why I use the word sublime is it's not about just, like, sometimes if we use the word beautiful, for example.
Yeah.
It's something people can think is kind of pretty.
Yeah.
Whereas sublime, it can almost be grimy,
Yeah.
interesting. It's doing something different. It's a curveball.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's just because my gut says so.
I like it. No, I do like that. I like that idea of being you're in on something, you know, this sort of secret thing. I like that.
Rumours spread.
Yeah. It's very, very good. Is it something, do you think, any company can do? If a guy's or girl's at home, the company, you know, leading a company and it's just a cleaning company, but they got a vision to set up a franchise, you know, whatever it is, they want to grow.
Well, I remember hearing about a paint company.
Right.
Okay. That they had to really sit and think about, what is our mission? What is our purpose?
Yeah.
They sell different colours of paint. Okay. So what's the purpose behind this? Well, what they arrived on, and when they actually put this out to the world, their sales rocketed.
Right.
Okay. And it was when they arrived on the fact that the purpose was to make happy walls.
Right. Yeah.
And they just went with that. They're like, we exist to create happy walls.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and it's realizing that you can actually, you know, make meaning out of things that
otherwise might not have a huge...
people might just say it's meaningless. You just sell paint.
Well, it shifts the mindset of everything.
Yep.
Not just from the salespeople, in terms of what they're selling, how they want their customers to feel, how they want the dealers to feel, the retailers, and it also affects your quality because the wall's got to stay happy, you know.
Totally.
I like it. It just shifts the game, doesn't it?
It does. And just realizing that we like to think of ourselves as being very objective.
Yeah.
But we're very subjective.
Yes.
You know, and so as leaders, you've already, you know, talked about storytelling. You know, we've got to control the narrative. We've got to create a narrative that is worth buying in on.
I like that idea too of controlling the narrative, of actually determining this is our vision and we are going to do this amazing thing. And no matter what's going on in the world, we've got this bright future coming at us. It's good. That's awesome, man.
Cool.
Well, it's been a great conversation. Did we cover all the five? We did.
I'll say it one more time. Personal mastery.
Yeah.
Team learning.
Yeah.
Shared vision. Mental models, which is that mindset.
Yes.
And systems thinking. And these are really the 5 disciplines that it's not like a tick box thing. It's something that we need to find new ways to always be watering these plants in our organizations, because we need to create the conditions where profound change can occur.
I love it. Well, I'm definitely going to listen back to this and make some notes.
Awesome.
So how do people, I mean, I haven't got you on here to necessarily, and I know you're not here just to try to get business, but how do people get hold of you?
Yeah, I would say at the moment I've been operating out of the name Culture Fuse. So if people want to email me, it's just Josh at Culture Fuse, Fuse.
Fuse.
Yeah, .co.nz.
Yeah.
But I am about to launch a new brand.
Yes.
So add me on LinkedIn, and I can't say what the name is yet, but very excited, and it'll be really useful for leaders that are wanting to grow role clarity, stop their strategies flying on the whiteboard.
So it's Josh at culturefuse.co.nz. They're definitely guaranteed to find you there. I know I found you on LinkedIn. Do you do work outside of New Zealand? Or can you do work outside of New Zealand?
It's funny, I've actually been in conversations with someone overseas at the moment.
Right.
It's something that I'm looking to venture into.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're in Australia, doing really well in Australia.
Awesome.
States, same there, and in Canada. So you never know. You never know.
I'd love to.
And obviously the Kiwis, we love, New Zealand's our home. So, hey man, that was an awesome conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you. Is there a parting thought that you wanted to finish that you felt like you should have talked about, or you really wanted to talk about today that you want to finish off with?
I feel like I'm surprised at how much we covered. To be honest, I hope it hasn't been like drinking from a fire hydrant.
It has a bit.
There's a lot to this, but I'd just say start positive rumors. I'd say give people attention.
Yep. Gains versus gaps,
and measure the gains. Yeah, measure the gains, not the gaps.
That is so important because we all do it. We all measure the gap. And in the gap, like your guy with the phone, we always assume something negative.
Yeah.
We always fill that gap with negativity, don't we?
Absolutely.
So short accounts around those gaps, but try to become someone who actually looks for the gains and talks to the team about the gains. I love that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. That was very good.
Bro. Very cool. Thank you.